Listen, I don't want to do these videos, because I already know that I will be accused to be an F-35 hater or worse, even a US opponent. But the fact is that the F-35 keeps piling up delays over programs over delays, which have indeed a technical and operational impact. In fact, there are now delays of the Block 4, the new science fiction improved variant of the F-35. And I am not the one saying it. I am not the one slandering the aircraft. The USGAO is saying it. But I may have an explanation of why it keeps happening, which is at the end of the video, so please stay here and watch through. Hi, I'm Gas, and this is Millennium 7. Unfortunately, on YouTube, there are plenty of charlatans who are in the business of telling the American public what they want to hear rather than just informing people. They exist in other countries too, but here in the English-speaking sphere, we are discussing the United States. Obviously, not everyone is sensitive to this approach. Intelligent people exist everywhere, but many are. These charlatans are hugely popular, of course, and I have just watched some of them saying that diffusing news about the F-35 shortcomings is propaganda in favor of Russia and China. After all, they say, we know nothing of the development disasters that surely happened there, and we only see their propaganda, showing the few shiny bits. Sorry, you know nothing because you don't even bother checking. If you did, you would discover that there is a lot of information in the public domain, less than in the US, but still quite a lot, and nobody is trying to hide problems. For example, the issues with the development of the A100 are well known and they are in the public domain. And on the China side, we know well the story of the embarrassing initial production run of the J-11 or more recently the delay of the H-20. I'm digressing, sorry, but these kind of things really make me snap. The F-35 program traces its origins back to 1993 in a DARPA study for a multi-service platform to replace F-16, F-18 and AV-8. In 1996, Boeing and Lockheed Martin were awarded a contract to produce concept demonstrators, and the competition between the two was won by the X-35, the Lockheed Martin aircraft, in 2001. The first deliveries to operational squadrons happened in 2015 for the US Marine Corps, followed by the F-35A for the Air Force in 2016 and the F-35C for the Navy in 2019. This means 14 to 18 years to deliver the first operational aircraft, which is already quite a long time, albeit still not terrible. But don't be fooled. The IOC was declared for political reasons, and several years had to pass before the aircraft was really combat capable. We could spend hours discussing the reasons why the project was late, but the reason was basically that the Air Force and Lockheed Martin bite more than they could chew. They tried to make 3 aircraft in one go. They tried to make a quantum leap in terms of avionics to sustain a quantum leap in terms of doctrine. And on top of this, they adopted concurrence, which is almost always a bad idea. Concurrence in this context is the practice of starting production even though the testing is not complete, under the assumption that modern design technologies limited the number of defects and they can be remedied on the aircraft already built. The result of this practice was almost 100 F-35s, which would be so expensive to retrofit that they have been assigned to all sorts of auxiliary roles like aggressors, training, testing, and so on. Now, to be fair, in this light, it would have been surprising if everything was done on time, within budget, and it was actually working. So we need to cut some slack to the program, some, but not too much. Because as if this was not enough, the program was really a masterclass about how not to manage a high-technology project. It is really a mystery to me how such a messy process produced such an effective aircraft. And for those who say that the process was indeed not so messy, just look at the several GAO reports and all the other analysis from mainstream sources that actually say so. You would expect that in 2025, a quarter century after the beginning, despite the false start, all the major problems would be ironed out. But no. As the GAO report says, and I quote, after nearly 20 years of aircraft production, however, the F-35 program continues to overpromise and underdeliver. In addition, the F-35's contractors continue to have challenges with fully meeting contract requirements, and the program rewards them for it. Supply chain challenges continue to strain engine and aircraft production schedules, leading to increasingly late deliveries. The program, however, has not accounted for these delays as it continues to direct the contractors to increase production rates. And this brings us to the modern day and the reason why the F-35 is in the news again. So, not many know, because it has been conveniently forgotten, that the F-35s accepted so far do not conform to the original F-35 specifications. To cut short with the delays and put something in service, the specifications were just simplified. Features were descoped and lower performances were accepted. Don't get me wrong, it is still a great aircraft, very effective, but it falls short from the initial requirement. This situation was expected to be remedied by the F-35 Block 4. The Block 4 package is almost science fiction. We dedicated a long video to it some time ago, and I suggest you to have a look. The full details are obviously not in the public domain, but we know the areas of improvement. The radar has to be replaced with a gallium nitride unit, the distributed aperture system has to be improved, passive sensor, the EOS, electronic warfare, data links, all are supposed to be improved. All these improvements would rely on a new onboard computer with increased performance and storage. Furthermore, the Block 4 should remedy the endemic problem identified in 2008 of the cooling system not being efficient enough, which causes additional strain on the engine, shortening the engine lifespan. Now, the Block 4 improvements have a prerequisite, an upgrade known as Tier 3. Basically, with Tier 3, the hardware required for the Block 4 had to be delivered. Tier 3 was planned for December 2022, and the first components of the Block 4 were to be delivered in 2026 to be completed in 2029. All the operation aircraft had to be converted to Block 4 standard. But obviously things didn't go as expected, otherwise you would not be here. The first deliveries of Tier 3 aircraft were expected in July 2023, but we learned from the GAO report that by that date, the development was nowhere near completion. The main computer had quality and design issues, and it was delivered in insufficient quantities. The new generation DAS design was not even complete, the software had serious stability issues, and there were other unspecified defects. No Air Force, American or otherwise, accepted deliveries, and the aircraft started piling up outside the production line. To avoid amassing too many aircraft in a single place, in July 2024 the aircraft were quickly patched to be at least good for training, albeit still not combat capable. In July this year, 2025, Tier 3 aircraft with limited combat capabilities started rolling out the production line, but they are still not capable of supporting the Block 4 upgrades. The Tier 3 is expected to be completed at some point in 2026. You may think, well, it is not too bad, just in time for the Block 4. Well, it is never this simple. Always from the GAO report, we learned that the original Block 4 included 53 upgrades, later increased to 66, albeit we don't know what each upgrade really is. Among these upgrades, there was the cooling system improvement, which is a critical upgrade to support all the new electronics. Obviously, new and more powerful electronics simply produce more heat. Well, it turned out to be more complicated than expected, and the new cooling system won't be delivered before 2031. The F-35 office is adjudicating the contract as we speak. So, in this situation, many of the Block 4 improvements have been descoped to reduce the dependency from the cooling upgrade. Now the Block 4 is a smaller program that includes only 31 upgrades, and they will be delivered in 2031. Hopefully. So obviously, as it always happens with the F-35, everything is 1 or 2 orders of magnitude more complex than it should be. Every upgrade turns out to be much more complex to implement than it should be. Asking why it is so, it is a legitimate question. The GAO report focuses on the contractual structure where Lockheed Martin and Pratt & Whitney are not incentivized to do better. It is more convenient for them to accept the penalties than put any effort and investment to improve the situation. And surely this is a very valid point. However, I start suspecting that there is something else in the background, that it is not addressed, and it will probably never be. In the beginning, the F-35 designers gave the upgrade issue the proper attention. The F-35 uses an open architecture which is designed exactly to make upgrades easier. From the hardware connection to the high-level software functions, everything is designed in unit blocks that could work in isolation and interact only via contracted interface. In fact, the internal communication architecture between systems is built on a messaging protocol running on commercial off-the-shelf software. Those of you who work in software will recognize the term Kubernetes, which is a commercial software orchestration platform which is used in the F-35 central computer. Furthermore, the F-35 development now benefits from a series of laboratories that can test from the single subsystem, the single black box, up to a flight of 8 ships at the same time, simulating sensor inputs or human input, or even simplified simulators, as opposed to using simple test routines. And by the way, the lack of these integrated test environments was one of the causes of the early days of software issues. So now this has been fixed. So all the right choices were made to ensure the easy upgradability of the system, and still, every time there is an upgrade, even a simple routine software upgrade, there are always issues. Please be advised that what follows is my speculation. I started suspecting that there is a huge amount of technical debt in the system. For those who are unfamiliar with the term, technical debt is a qualitative description of the cost to maintain a system that is attributable to choosing an expedient solution for its development. While an expedited solution can accelerate development in the short term, the resulting low quality might increase future costs if left unresolved. In particular, I suspect that the unitary software models were not designed with an expansion of capabilities in mind. I suspect that they are not parametric enough. I suspect that rather than needing a simple reconfiguration because something else has changed, more often than not, the single modules need a rewrite. I say this because it seems to me to recognize the typical patterns that I have seen in large software projects where technical debt was a problem. That is, when a stable configuration is reached, everybody's breathing freely again. But when an evolution is needed, adding functionalities becomes increasingly difficult. Every time you touch one module, you also need to touch other modules because you didn't really think of that type of modification and you did not design for it, simply because at the time you were in a hurry. In a system as complex as the F-35, this must be an utter nightmare. If I'm right, we will likely see these shenanigans till the end of the F-35 life. If I'm wrong, the root cause is different and I am just a clown. And only time will tell. Thank you very much for watching this video. I am really not happy of coming back to the same subject times and times again, but there is a huge interest and it is hugely important. And if you like what you have seen, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or by being a member or by any of the other means available. Many people have already done it, and I need to say a huge thank you to all of them, because their contribution to keep the show running is fundamental. If you can support the channel, please subscribe if you haven't. About half of you are not subscribed, and I don't understand why. But also, if you want to see my videos again, the best way with the current algorithm is interacting with the video. So leave a comment, hit like. You can also hit the bell, which in theory should provide you with notification when a new video drops. So, this is it. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.